Guess I better talk. I'm going to put a picture up. No co-hosts have joined yet, so I'm just checking the stream and realizing that I need to turn off the Sunday at 4 part of the title. There we go. And now let's look at streams. Okay, that's the YouTube right there. It says good. I see Brendan.
Greetings. Long time no see and hear and stuff.
It has been a while. The stream is rolling, so...
Excellent.
Not that you ever have to really be careful of what you say.
I try not to. 1 second. Okay, that should help a little bit.
All right, I'm checking the streams because, like I say, in theory they're working, but
yeah,
YouTube is.
Let me get the show notes open. Are any of the other regulars going to be here today?
Jen should be here. She hasn't told me she's not.
Excellent.
Which means she is. Okay, so Facebook is working. Have you been on the show since we have a Twitter live presence?
I don't think so.
We have a Twitter live presence.
That's kind of amazing.
And I am running a newly upgraded software, which has me a little worried. I'm going to play some video later on, and it will be stuttering. I think the feed is otherwise working okay. And we're back on Skype. So now I need to push your picture into a couple places on Skype.
So out of curiosity, what are the videos for today? Because I've not, I don't see them in the show notes. And I try to have watched them. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of video I shot at a rolling protest when Pence was in town.
Okay.
So let's see if...
She's here.
I am here.
Gary went mute just before you showed up. So,
yeah.
No worries. No worries. I had to do a presentation for a conference coming up next Saturday, and I didn't know if I would get it done, but I managed to get it done about an hour ago. And so I'm using the virtual camera on my hair because I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I have time to do my hair.
I'm getting the camera captures into the...
I think I need to unplug and replug my mic because I'm hearing you guys through my computer speakers.
You didn't sound terrible, but...
It's recording through my microphone. It's just not speakers. No, I don't want internal speakers. That should do.
You may not have a picture turned on yet either.
My picture's on, according to me. But hey, if my been up for 2 days pulling an all-nighter to get my presentation done face doesn't show up on for public viewing, that's all the better.
So my view of all of this is Jen is in half my screen. There's an empty gray box in the middle of the other half of my screen, and to the side of the gray box is a tiny sliver of me and a tiny sliver of Gary. I'm not sure if that is relevant or if that matters.
I'm getting less and less happy with Skype. The one thing I like about it is I can make individual pictures with more control.
So I find that my video preview button actually shows me everything correctly, but now it's just gray. But when that comes back up, I'm going to move myself around to be appropriately balanced in the right places with the right things. I'm glad that nothing's happened in the last 2 weeks while I've been out, so it's been quiet.
Yeah, it's been nothing in the news.
Nancy Pelosi got a haircut.
Honestly, I don't know if you're kidding or not, and that's how
she
sad
did.
This world is.
She did get a haircut. That's the October surprise.
Well,
okay. I mean, I guess if that's news,
that'd be the September
surprise. Are really mad about that.
It would be the September surprise, but
because in California, you're not supposed to go to a salon, and she went to one, and she got a haircut because she's the California representative.
So what about the thousands of people that showed up in Sturgis, South Dakota for a motorcycle rally and didn't wear masks?
They're not Democrats.
So it doesn't matter. The rules are different. I forget.
Yes.
I hate that shit. Oh, sorry. Should have muted.
No, we're allowed to curse.
We are allowed to. It's just, the other day, Brendan didn't want to say the word ass, as in Big Ass Mike. So yeah. I was just assuming that.
I try not to. I find that if I'm in the habit of not saying things like that, I then don't say them in like work calls and stuff. And I also try not to say dumb things at work.
I just curse everywhere.
That's a better solution, honestly. Is my air conditioner too loud?
I can hear it. It's not too loud.
Okay, because I can make it shut up.
Then you would get very hot.
Not today.
So, Jen, you think your camera is on? Because Skype
I think my camera's on.
Skype is not seeing it.
Well, I see her.
Oh.
And the rice that she's eating, and her beautiful, beautiful flowing princess hair. So.
It's not making it to me. So let's hang you up and. I'll
hang up and come back.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see if I can adjust the AC to be a little less noisy.
Back.
Welcome back.
But still no picture on this end.
Honestly, I'm very okay with this. What I need to figure out is how for my presentation to use some software like, oh, look, I turned into blue. I need to figure out how to use some software like what you're using, Gary, to be able to do my presentation, because I'm using this weird conference software to give my presentation, and I need it to be interactive.
I'll pay more attention to what you're saying in a second.
Yeah, I find pretty much all presentation stuff to be terrible these days. Zoom added the breakout features and stuff so you can have like little chat rooms, which is helpful, but it doesn't let you control. You can't control putting your face on the screen and the slides you want on the screen at the same time. So
yeah, I need that. And I also need virtual bingo. And I need to enable my guests to do virtual bingo. Because the topic my conference presentation is a very vulnerable one. It's about teaching consent to children at any age. So we need to be able to reach a point where the audience feels comfortable sharing vulnerably with one another.
So, Brendan, what are you trying to do with Zoom?
Me, nothing. I was just brainstorming ideas for Jen. I do work stuff all the time where you're on the screen and you're trying to talk to people, and having the facial context and the hand gestures and whatever is helpful. But you also want to be sharing the slide deck or the screen you're working on or whatever it is, and you can't control what the other person sees. You can say, here's the screen I'm sharing, and here's the grid of people that you can see, but they can choose what they put up. And I want to say, picture in picture, here's the thing that I'm doing, and in the corner is my video feed, and only my video feed. And Zoom does not support that as far as I know.
I figured something like what Gary's got, and I can have my slides and then a little picture in picture for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've got something called Spotlight. I'm not sure Spotlight is going to force a dual screen, because they got something called dual screen, but that's for the users. Spotlight forces a picture to everybody. But
I'm not using Zoom. We're using a software called Hop In.
Yeah, never heard of that.
Yeah, it's RTC. It's just RTC. So it's going to be interesting. I'm trying to show videos and stuff to, illustrate my points. I figured out how to pipe the audio through, but the video is going to be interesting. I'm prepared to give this presentation in person, but we're not doing it in person.
Yep. Hang on, I got to go turn on a fan. You guys entertain the audience for a minute.
So unfortunately, I think, Jen, it's still just my video and Gary's empty chair and your lovely, 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 lovely singing voice. But everybody else.
Well, audience, if you would like to attend a conference and learn about how to teach consent to children at every age, Saturday.
No. It's just you now. What's the conference? The overall conference topic?
It's International Nanny Training Day, so it is a day-long conference to give nannies professional development in a variety of areas. There are six sessions. No, there are 6 presentations, 3 sessions, so you are going to have to miss out on half of them, FOMO, and then a keynote. And I'm one of the session speakers. I'm doing, teaching consent at every age.
Excellent.
It's all really good, but also very, very in-depth parenting topics.
Far too many conferences I've been to are multi-track, and so you have to choose which of the 4 things you want to see you're going to watch live, and then which ones you're going to pretend to yourself to watch later when they're recorded, but you never actually go back and do it because you're too busy with work.
Ain't that the truth?
So, my favorite conference didn't happen this year. Happens in Portland. It's called Monitorama, and it's a single track conference, and so it's 600 people in an auditorium together, and there is no other place to be, and so you all have the same shared collective experience from going. And
we did that. National Nanny Training Day used to be a single track conference, and people complained about not having choices, so it's been a multi-track conference the past couple of years, and people complained about having choices.
I mean,
I believe the moral of that story is people complain.
Yeah, I'd say it just goes to show that people complain.
So, Gary, whenever Jen is the only person talking, she gets the video on my side, but she's still not in the split video pane that you have.
Yeah, she will never be in my split pane because I'm not getting her picture.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why. This is what I'm seeing, and then up here this is Jen. Okay, when I say up there, it doesn't show. So let me do this up there.
Yeah,
that's the icon I get for Jen, and no image. This has happened before. I forget if it happened on Skype or.
It happened on Skype.
Yeah. I'm about to abandon Skype. There's one thing I like about it. It's that I can make pictures partial screen, full screen from individual pictures that will never change. I have total control, but everything else Zoom does better. So I'm probably going to give up on Skype. Damn you, Skype. So everybody enjoying the cool, crisp fall weather? It's September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last night was really pleasant.
Yeah.
I wrote my presentation on my patio.
I'm trying to gin up my my rant. Okay, here's my rant. That fall does not begin in North Carolina until October, and so this is September. It's not fall. It's not cool. It's not less humid until October. Although today wasn't bad.
This is false fall. I guess I've been the one who's lived in North Carolina the longest. We have summer, then we have the devil's front porch, and then we have the wet summer, and then we have now it's hot and wet summer. Then we get false fall, and then we get haha, just kidding, it's still summer, which is coming this week.
Mm-hmm.
This is false fall right now. It's part of summer. It's part of the plan. It's like Sprinter, where it's like winter, spring, spring, winter, spring, snowing, spring.
Yeah, I remember as a kid up in Asheville, we got snow on Halloween one year, which was amusing. You go trick or treating and it's snowing, and then we had a blizzard in April one year. We got 14 inches of snow. It was 90.
Oh, I remember
93.
that. I got caught in that. I was hiking out on the Appalachian Trail, and I got caught in it. And I was woefully unprepared. There are photos of me in like a tank top and a t-shirt, and then it's snowing.
And it's not like kidding around snow. This is like
it was like deep, yeah, post-holing snow. I twisted my knee, and I had to get off the trail because I twisted my knee in the snow.
That's not fun.
Yeah, we spent that night in a literal human being pile just for body heat.
I mean, there's times at which you have to do whatever it is to survive, and that's one of those. I don't want frostbite. I like all my toes and my fingers.
We gave one guy a trail name. We named him Neanderthal. He was a relatively barrel-shaped, shorter guy with lots and lots of body hair, and that man was better than most wood stoves I've encountered as being a source of heat, and we all just snuggled him.
So, Brendan, there are a couple things you can do to control what you're seeing there on your Skype. You can take, I'm going to take Jen, who is half my screen right now, and push her up to the top, and that leaves you as just the only picture.
Oh, look what I can do.
And then...
Can I pull me down? No.
So you don't want speaker view, you want grid view. And
I have modern grid view preview.
Yeah, I think maybe modern grid view is what you need to be able to do that. And then within that, you can right click on the picture and do a either fit and crop video or see full video. For me, you probably want to see full video. There's nothing you can do in Skype anymore to just get rid of all that crap at the top and the bottom. So, damn you, Skype. Unfortunate. Yeah. Skype used to be great for broadcast, but not so much anymore, except once again, I can do this using a feature called NDI. I don't remember what the initials stand for, but it basically separates all of the videos coming into me and lets me make them full screen or do whatever I want with them. So this picture of you now is just full screen with none of the crap around it, except for the little Skype logo.
I like that.
Yeah. So, but that's not really going to be enough to make me happy with Skype. So I think it's going to be back to Zoom. Anyway, okay, Jen, I'm glad you said it's false fall, because
false fall. That's the name of it. Wednesday, it's 107 is the heat index. It's false fall.
October is the best month of the year.
I disagree.
Okay, we got two votes for, one against. What's your favorite?
November, because that's my birthday month.
Okay, well, October is mine, but mine is the 22nd of October. So let's go from halfway.
I'm born a month after you.
Let's go from the 21st of October to the 23rd of November is the best month.
I can go with that.
And my children's birthdays are both on the 22nd of their respective months.
Wow. Bizarre.
I have a friend who's really into astrology, and she says that's usually the cusp in between two different astrological signs is on like the 22nd, 23rd of a month. So
yeah, I'm between Libra and Scorpio. Not that any of that means anything to me.
I'm a Scorpitarius. I'm fond of outdoor sports, very, very loyal, and also very up for adventure.
I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I believe it's time for me to push the music button. There's another weird thing that's happening with this version of Wirecast. It is my cursor, which is not showing in the picture at all right now. My cursor is lagging. It's I move the see, I guess I can show it. Show it with this picture here. But you can't tell it's lagging because you can't see the mouse. But I'll move the mouse and then the cursor moves a little bit after that, and I bet both of you realize that is just nuts.
Yeah, and it's crazy making.
Yeah,
I hate it when it happens.
Yep. So as I go down
I start using my keyboard skills.
As I go down to try to play the music, it's very awkward. But here it comes. From the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary. I killed the audio. On the north side of Cary. Where's my hammer?
Let's cut the crap, kid. I want to know what the big talk's all about.
I gotta wait to do the hammer thing.
Then we talk all night.
Let's give them something to talk about. Another night of hearing myself talk.
Stop me if you've heard this one.
Talk is cheap, yo.
Yeah.
With a little less talk and a lot more action.
I don't wanna
Talk to me.
So knock it off and put the yickety yak, the yakety yick.
Let's tell it like it is and how it could be. How it was and, of course, how it should be.
keep that motor mouth moving morning, noon, and night. And if you keep on talking, baby, you know you're bound just to drive me away.
Okay, so I was supposed to be able to say this is the Triangle Talk Show. And then that makes this me. I'm Gary Pierce. And, okay, if I can do this right. You can't see Jen.
Let me know when I start talking.
You can talk.
From the utter void, somewhere in Chapel Hill, I'm Jen, host of NannyCast and also speaker at International Nanny Training Day Chapel Hill this coming Saturday.
You said you're from the utter void?
Utter void.
Yes,
I am broadcasting from the void. You can't see me because there is no light in the void.
Okay, let's see if I can push these buttons correctly.
And from the converted attic apartment on the edge of downtown Cary, nowhere near any mountain that I'm aware of, I'm Brendan Diesendorf, a host of the Practical Operations podcast.
And, okay, so the show, that button. This is I've made this so complicated, I don't know how to do it. I need a technical director. I need to hire a technical director. It is episode 110. I'm calling this a Politi-Chat because it's probably going to be politics, but it's mostly chat. I don't know if there's a difference between that and a ordinary political show, but I can call it whatever I want. So I don't care.
It's your show.
Yeah. Yeah. I make it up as I go along. September 6th, 2020 in False Fall here in North Carolina. Voting's nice. Do it twice. And I think that deserves a triangle hit.
Yeah, the comments made were kind of appalling, and depending on what filter you look at them through, it's a felony in North Carolina to incite people to commit voter fraud.
Yeah, it's a felony to do it, and I'm not sure if it's a felony to suggest that people do it, but it's at least a misdemeanor. Yeah,
the law says it's a felony to incite. And
okay,
I would argue that somebody with that much pull and political prowess encouraging people to do things like that would be inciting. So, I mean, there's a loser court case there. I doubt there's any stomach from the North Carolina government to pursue this.
Plus, I don't think you can while he's still president.
But I mean, that might be a couple months out that we could go after him for it. But I doubt very much that it would be a thing. And for those who haven't followed this, at a political rally in Wilmington, I believe
it was,
the president was encouraging folks to both vote by mail and then make sure that they also go and vote in person and just try to vote twice, which is the voter fraud thing that he's been arguing is the danger of doing absentee ballots, which is the danger of why we shouldn't be doing absentee ballots. But now he's telling people to go do it.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm sure he was just joking. It's fine, right?
That's what he says.
You know what we call that? We call that Schrodinger's douchebag, because he's only just joking if you take it poorly. Otherwise, he was telling you his real opinion. Schrodinger's douchebag. It only depends on how you react to determine whether it was a joke or not.
Yeah.
I honestly think he's got some actual undiagnosed mental illness, or maybe diagnosed, just not public, because of his inability to stay logically on a topic, and then he has to cover with, oh, I was just joking. Oh, I was just whatever. But I really think he's got some mental issues that are probably in need of therapy and medication.
I was calling it I was calling it a stream of unconsciousness.
Homie got sent to military school, and that's where you put children that needed therapy back in the day. We know he's got mental issues.
You're eating something, aren't you?
I'm eating rice.
Okay. You're trying to get away with that because your picture's not on screen.
That's exactly it.
But my finely tuned sense of hearing from so many years of radio and audio engineering detected the sound of eating. You can't get away with anything here.
This is why I finished my second coffee just before the show.
Yep.
I've been working on my presentation for my speaking engagement all weekend. I have not eaten. This is my meal.
Okay, so now I'm paying attention to your speaking engagement.
Yeah. I'm teaching people things about stuff.
You gave me a link. Let's take a look.
I did give a link. It is International Nanny Training Day in Chapel Hill. It was originally supposed to be in person, but and many months ago, COVID happened, which we all realize has happened. So now we are doing it virtually through an online service called Hopin. But I'm still speaking.
Excellent.
How was the
show?
Go ahead.
Before the show, we were talking a little bit about what the topic was covering, and you were saying it was both on nannying, but also on kind of parenting in general. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. This is so it's, the intended audience of my talk is nannies, but parents would get a lot out of it as well. It is about teaching consent at any age with children. The reason that I say it's aimed at nannies is there's a lot of it where I go, hey, you can't unilaterally make this decision. You have to talk to, the parents that you work for. But hey, parents, you don't have to talk to the parents you work for. You are the parents you work for. So, I mean, that's really the only part of my talk that you wouldn't be able to immediately go, I feel this applies to me. Everything else is applicable across the board.
So it looks like it's next Saturday.
It is next Saturday. It's September 12th. It's a full day event. Looks
like it's free.
It is not free. It does have a cost.
It says free down here.
I know. There's a cost, and you get surprised by it when you go to actually attend the thing. It is not a cheap cost. However, I have a free entry pass that I can give away to a listener.
Okay, how do they find you? Because we've hidden all communications capabilities to you directly.
NannyJen at nannycast.com.
That'll work.
If somebody wants to come and they cannot afford the entry fee is it's the fee presented by the conference software. They do require that people pay for use of their software. But if you can't afford it, if it is, cost prohibitive or whatever, I can get you in. So send me an email. NannyJen at nannycast.com.
I wonder why it says free here.
I don't know. Who knows?
And there's one person who's signed up so far, the organizer.
Yeah, well, that's the meetup, which is one of the ways Jasmine is driving attention to it. That's the link that I happen to have. I don't know how to get to the other stuff. I just go to hop in and log in, and there I am, and there it is.
Okay. So it's not a meetup specifically.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, cool.
Yep. So if any parents want to learn, there's going to be topics on non-neurotypical children. There's my topic on consent. There's going to be emotional regulation topics. It's advanced parenting stuff that you would expect a nanny to know.
And you will be more visible than you are here on this show.
Well, yeah, you'll be able to see my face. I'm getting my hair repinked and everything. It's going to be great.
You know what we need to do now? I'm sorry. It's the boilerplate. Go ahead, Jen. Tell me that we don't need to do this every time.
We are now going to tell you how to find us, since you have already found us. We're going to be very insulting and remind you how to do it that you've already done.
But we try to make it entertaining.
The Triangle Talk Show is everywhere that you are happening to see us. That would be YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook Live, and as a podcast. We do identify ourselves as a podcast, even though you get to see everybody but my beautiful face. We talk about anything we want to. We aim for things more or less of interest to those in the Triangle. Hey, my conference is for the Triangle. Sometimes it's local, sometimes it's broader. It's unfair and unbalanced. We're definitely left-leaning because Sarah's not here. We do get political. And then here's more ways to find us if you hadn't already found us. The website is triangletalkshow.com. The Facebook group is Triangle Talk Show. The YouTube channel is Triangle Talk Show. The only thing that is not Triangle Talk Show is Twitter, which is @TalkTriangle.
Also Periscope.
Well, yeah, but Periscope's owned by Twitter. Yeah. It's a Twitter product.
You skipped over the never-ending YouTube challenge. And I'll call it never-ending because it's never going to happen.
But if we get 1,000 subscribers, we can do mobile live streaming, and that would be pretty cool.
And
I could make use of that. There are times where I would love to not be in the yellow room or the void.
Yeah, I've got a little. Well, you can come in from Zoom or Skype from anywhere you want. It's just I can't establish the live stream. It occurs to me I never started recording. I guess I better do that. Otherwise, I got to pick too much up from the YouTube. But
We're
I can't.
Just having tech issues today. It's just a day of tech issues, y'all.
Yeah, it's almost as if I was never a professional broadcast engineer. Ever. I probably have clients who would agree with that. Mm-hmm. So what I can't do is establish a stream to the YouTube channel from mobile. I have to do it from here in the studio above the bonus room. No, in the bonus room above the garage.
So how do they determine mobile? Is it just from the mobile app, or is it in the sense that you need to be?
Yeah, I'm sure it's from the app on a phone, I think.
Okay. But you got a hotspot in a laptop, you could probably figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think they would know.
Okay.
I don't think they would know that that's mobile. Anyway, 1,000 subscribers. We're at about 145 or so, 147, I think I saw, which is pretty awesome compared to where we were 3-4 months ago. But it's a long way from 1,000.
Podcast-wise, if you want the audio-only feed of the show, we're on pretty much every podcast app that exists. Apple Music, iTunes, whatever that's called these days, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher. Please find us, subscribe, write us a review. It helps other people find us and helps us to grow the audience, and we always love to talk to more people.
Yep. So, Jen, you were making fun of my boomerism, saying that you can get us on Memorex. You can watch us live, or you can get us on Memorex.
Mm-hmm. I have beta tapes. I'm not making fun. That was Sarah. She's the young one.
Okay. So what do people call a recorded thing these days? I mean, I still hear
call the recorded things these days.
Yeah, I still hear the term videotape running around, but I think that's just old people.
So, well, my kids call it video, even though they've never actually seen magnetic tape that holds video recording.
So they don't call it videotape.
No, they just call it video.
Yeah, which it is, technically.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't know. we don't know what to call it. We're video.
I'm not young enough for this.
We need the youngins. Get off the lawn. Okay, Boomer.
I'll drag my children up here at some point to be guests on the show, and they can give you the middle school perspective on the world.
Probably, Google Classroom.
That would
Actually,
be great.
Digressing briefly into that, I'm impressed with how my children's schools are handling the online teaching. And I've been hearing from other parents in Wake County that it is very much a combination of the administration, the parents, the teachers, and the kids. Some places it's going really smoothly, and some places it's not. I would like to stress to everybody who has children who is going through this whole virtual school thing, patience on all sides is what's needed. Patience from the teachers, patience from the students, patience from the parents. Everybody's figuring this out. A lot of teachers are discovering that the view they have for the tools is not the view the kid sees. And so they assume the kid is seeing one set of buttons or toolbars or whatnot, and that's not what the kid gets. And people are getting frustrated, and this school is important, but patience, folks. It's really important to, especially in the beginning, approach this in a friendly way and try to assume the other side is also doing the best they can. And everybody's overworked and everybody's stressed out. So let's work together and try to get through this. I've had a really smooth experience, and I feel very lucky about that. But friends of mine have not, and it's interesting. So,
now, is your smooth experience because you're tech support?
No, actually, I'm mostly upstairs. I work from home, and so if I were the primary parent trying to do the video stuff, I would be able to be physically near them maybe half the day, and that wouldn't be enough. My wife is doing school. She's at UNC, but all of her classes are online, so she can kind of keep her ear out to help with things. So she's doing most of the tech support side of things. But the school actually has both schools. My daughter is in elementary school. My son is in middle school now, and both of their schools are actually handling it very well. Things are relatively smooth. The expectations are clear for the kids. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know when the things are supposed to be done by. All of those pieces seem to be working very well. But I have friends who are in Apex, and they don't have the same experience. And it's just different administration, different groups of kids, different teachers who have different expectations, different needs, and they've set things up slightly differently, and it's causing pain there. So
I give my nanny kid's school an 8 out of 10 for digital, which exceeds my expectations. I expected a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10. They got an 8 out of 10. There are 2 specials teachers who haven't quite mastered the tools, but you know what? They don't have to. We're in a pandemic. They're doing their best.
Yeah, none of this is perfect, but enough of it is going smoothly enough that the kids are having.
Yeah, they're learning,
and they're not upset or freaking out or having anxiety about going to school in the morning. They know what's expected of them. They go and they do it. They show up. Everything seems to be working reasonably well. So.
And we are in competition with some of our friends over who can have the most tech screw-ups. So for us, when something doesn't work, yeah, it's a little upsetting because it doesn't work, but also we can add it to the tally board and then at the end of the day compare numbers, and we're hoping to win because we want that pride. So, we've gamified that it doesn't work.
That's a little harder for me to get on board with, but partly because my professional life deals with preventing tech screw-ups, but
we had a really big one where an audio got caught in an endless loop, and I was like, techno dance party, and we decided that one counted for 5 points, and that day we won. It's a lot easier than sitting there and being very, very upset that it's happening.
So how much time during the day is a actual live face-to-face with a teacher, and how much is pretty much working on your own with stuff that's been pushed toward you to take care of?
So my son is in middle school, and his schedule is broken up roughly. Half the classes are live instruction one day, and the other half are live instruction the next day. And so it's A days and B days, and the first week is A, B, A, B, A, B, or it's A, B, A, B, A, and then the next week is B, A, B, A, B. So it goes back and forth. So it alternates 3 days or 2 days of live instruction every week. And then on the other days, there is posted assignments and attendance things to make sure that you're actually there on time, that you have done, you're actually present and doing things. But he goes into school mode. He gets his Chromebook out. He digs into it. And when he has problems, he will ask us about things. Or if like the Wi-Fi signal drops or something, he'll ask us. But he is effectively self-managing at this point. After a couple of weeks of school, he goes in, starts at 8:15. We see him at lunchtime for about an hour, and then he's back in until about 3:30. And some of that is chatting with some of his friends afterwards, and some of it's getting some of his schoolwork done. But he is definitely engaged in something for most of the day, which is fairly impressive for my opinion, that he is both being left to do work by himself or without somebody watching him, and he's getting it done, and the expectations have been set clearly, and he's doing it. My daughter's school she's in 3rd grade, and there's a lot more kind of hands-on, and every 30 minutes or so she has a break and she hops up and she goes and she bounces around and gets a glass of water and then forgets to go back and has to be reminded of, hey, it's time for your next class. You got to go back in. But it's also working out pretty well.
Is that next class, is that going to be the teachers on screen talking to everybody?
Yeah.
Live?
And you're all expected to be there to whatever it is you're doing. If it's whatever subject, whatever assignment, whatever topic they're teaching at that moment. So
just as you would have been expected to actually show up in the classroom if they were going to class.
I think the kids like it. The nice part of this is, so unlike the school, when you're in the physical building and you have a break or you finish your work a little bit early, you can't walk off and get a snack from the kitchen. Like, you're still in the classroom and you've got to sit there and be quiet. And now it's, you're done with your piece. You can hop up and stretch your legs or use the restroom or whatever it is you need to do right now, as long as you go back to class afterwards. And they're really enjoying that sense of freedom.
Is there interactivity between the students, the teacher? Like in a classroom, the teacher would be saying, all right, ask us a question of a specific student, or who knows the answer to this. Are they doing that sort of thing in the interactive, or is it more of a lecture?
Honestly, I don't know that part.
I'm over my nanny kid's shoulder the whole day, so I think I can answer that. So we're in the Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools, Carborough Elementary School. And there, between the hours of 8 a.m. and noon, it is synchronous learning. Those are the times when you're going to be with your teacher for lecture. Back in the day, we called it Sage on a Stage, where the teacher is interacting with the students. And then there are breaks, and you could start working on your homework or schoolwork. We've coined a new term called SCOME-work, because we couldn't decide whether it was homework or schoolwork. You could be working on your independent practice during those breaks, but don't. It's not healthy for a kid to just push through like that, especially in an elementary age. So we get up, we move around, we go outside, we go on swings. However, the teachers are interacting with the students, and because of the fact that they're using Google Meets, which only allows you to see 16 computer screens, even if your class is of 20 or 30, one of the beautiful things that one of the teachers on the team did that I saw was write everybody's name on popsicle sticks. And so she pulls popsicle sticks and she'll call on a student, even if that student is not visible on the screen, rather than waiting for kids to raise their hand. Or if they do raise their hand, they have to raise their hand in the chat by just typing any character at all in the chat. And that determines who's got their hand up, because the technology forces the teacher to not have a view of every student. And so some students would be skipped over just because the technology decided they weren't the ones that the teacher got to see. So the goal is to avoid having a student be missed with a hand raise. And they do attention checks periodically where you have to, the term they've got now is mute your camera and unmute your camera. You just blink your camera. And if you do it at the attention check point, that shows that you're at your screen and you didn't just log into the meeting and then wander off to go play Zelda.
Okay, so
Not that I'm saying I've seen a kid do it or anything.
So it's like this. To see if I'm paying attention, we have to go.
Off their cameras.
Yeah, and again, I don't see the in-person stuff very much. I'm upstairs working when the kids are doing their instruction day, so I don't have a lot of perspective on that. But I talk to them a lot afterwards about kind of what they're working on, and my son especially wants to talk to me about some of his homework for some reason. He wants to talk to me about it instead of my wife, which, sure, I'm happy to be involved in your education in any way that you'll let me. but sometimes he waits till the end of the day for me to come down, and it's like, I had a really busy day at work. Sorry, I couldn't slip off to do that for a little bit, which delays other things, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's it's working, so I'm not too upset about it.
Is most of your workday interactive, or are you just kind of banging away on the keyboard by yourself most of the time?
I do a lot of interactive stuff. It's usually audio calls instead of video calls, but a lot of stuff that requires me to be at my desk with a reasonable, with actually this microphone setup. And I talk to people about various problems. We have teams in Italy, in Belgrade, and San Francisco, and in North Carolina. So there's a lot of kind of cross communication. And a big chunk of what happens is the folks who are in Europe want to hand off to us, so we can then hand off to San Francisco rather than them having to stay up until San Francisco's online to do stuff. So it's kind of back and forth. But I can't reliably get away during the workday.
Yeah.
I can come down sometimes, but other times meetings pop on my calendar, and that has to be the priority right now for me. So that's what I do.
That's like with my wife. I take a peek in her office door, and if I need her attention, but I can see there's 5 faces on the screen. Now I'm not going to get her attention now. But if there's nothing going on, well, I still have to check. She still may be in an audio conference, and she's got the Apple earbuds underneath her hair, so I can't just tell if she's talking to somebody. Like,
so I know the question comes up often, like, what do the kids without a primary parent who can supervise their stuff do? And what I've discovered is, since I am a nanny, so I'm not having to be, helping with school is my work. I have extended that to help the kids who don't have access to a primary parent. So if they have a tech issue or whatever, and the teacher says, well, go get, your adult, and they say, I can't, there's no adult that's accessible, the teacher will hand that off, and they'll go, oh, well, who here's got an adult that can help out? Cool. Okay. And hand the kid off to those of us, and we help them through, which I think is one of those, like, it takes a village things. Because right now, it's all hands on deck. This isn't the ideal for anybody. That's extraordinarily
helpful, especially for the folks who don't have the ability to provide for, like, there's an extra adult who's going to hang out at the house all day just to sort of make sure this goes smoothly. So thank you for doing that, especially as you're not getting any kind of compensation or whatever from people's parents. It's a good thing to do.
It's the world we're in, right? Yeah. You help because you can, not because you're required to.
Now, does that stop the music for everybody, or do you go off to a separate chat someplace and work on that both. One student?
It's been both. I usually can solve the problem in the text chat pretty quickly. I'm just like, hey, just click one time on the microphone, and then it will mute you, rather than muting you and unmuting you, which is driving you crazy. And then they're like, oh, just once, nobody told me, and then problem solved.
Yeah, everybody's so used to double clicking on stuff.
Yep.
Which I turn off as fast as I can when I get a new system.
Yeah, the tech problems the kids have experienced have not been terribly bad, or the teacher will go, oh, well, you go to this and this and this and this and this, and then you'll find your assignment, and some kid will be like, I can't, I just copy and paste the link directly in the chat, and I'm like, click there. They don't need to know the 7-step process. Yeah. We can give them a web link directly to the assignment.
There was for Wake County anyway, maybe all North Carolina, there was a much publicized total outage.
Yep.
Did that really happen?
I missed it if it did.
We're on Google Meets because we're a totally Google school in the Chapel Hill Harbor City Schools, so we didn't have the outage. The outage was Zoom.
Zoom it down again? Oh, yeah, that's right, they did. Yeah, there's so much chewing gum and baling wire in the back end of all these systems that people don't generally see, and a lot of these systems were not built for the sudden surge that COVID gave them, and there was a huge scramble earlier in the year for people to kind of shore up the infrastructure and make things a little bit better and try to figure out, okay, what's going to happen when we get 5 times as many users as we expected, and then they get 45 times as many users as they expected, and they're still scrambling and they're still trying to figure things out. And then with school starting, it put even more load on the system. So I'm not defending them having downtime. I'm not defending like that things failed, but I know what it feels like to be on the wrong end of that, and it's just like it's hard when you're trying to work out a tech issue with the kid's school. it's awful to be on the other side of a platform that has, degraded service, and suddenly people can't log in, and that your customers are hurting because of it. So again, folks, patience. Patience is the best thing we have right now.
And honestly, those tech issues are not a problem. I have a nanny friend who they're part of our quarantine, whose charges are in the Durham public schools, and they experienced a tech issue on Friday, which was perfect because the kids really were mentally at the breaking point. So a day off to just sort of veg was great. The kids they still had to complete their assignments. They could still reach the asynchronous portions, which are just the independent practice. But the nanny specifically just found some YouTube, teaching tools on the topic that weren't exactly the teacher, and had her kid watch it and shared them out with the rest of the kids in the class, because email still works because that's asynchronous, and the kids were able to get through it. It reminds me of when I was doing my teacher training. I was focusing a lot on virtual education, and I kept saying teachers at that point might have had too much ego in the game. The end goal is that the kid learns. They don't have to learn from your face and your voice. Whatever gets them there in the end, right? Which feels a little bit dismissive of a teacher, because you want to think that you and your personality and your voice and your face have some agency in a child learning, but they don't really. There are autodidacts who can learn from a textbook. I mean, whatever gets a kid to knowledge.
I was thinking, the ego is involved much in the way I feel about doing this podcast. Without me or you guys, no one's learning anything. You need us.
I mean, even my presentation on Saturday, I got that from somewhere. And if you just went to the somewhere that I got that information from, you can learn it. You don't need me.
Okay.
The only thing that I'm doing is entertaining you while you're learning it at this exact moment, and sort of staring you down with my eyes to make sure you learn it now, rather than, as Brendan said before the podcast started, thinking you're going to learn it eventually, but then not.
And that's like, I learn very much by doing, by like having a project to work on, to creatively explore whatever the problem was. And I know folks who really need a teacher. They need somebody to sit there and ask and interactively be able to answer questions. And other people who really love learning out of books. And all of these things sort of balance, and you need to find the best thing that works for your kid, the best thing that works for your environment, and support them however you can.
And I've seen, at least in my Facebook feed, I've seen that there are posts going around where, and you can use the Facebook search to find it, a lot of those of us with teaching specialties, even if we don't work in those fields, have said, hey, if you need me to tutor in this subject, I'm available, just hit me up. Like, if for some reason, I can't remember where I saw it, but there was some parent whose child had attended all of their high school classes, except for some reason they couldn't log into their science that whole week, and their science was chemistry. I was like, yo, I can fill them in. Send them my way. We can do a quick Zoom session. I'll get them up to speed, and then we'll figure out what tech issue was preventing them from logging into chemistry that time. Like, it's a communal effort right now, and I understand the urge to feel mad, but we just get creative with solutions. We got solutions. There are no problems. There are just opportunities for creativity.
Are you guys seeing anything about this that you think should keep on going long term after the COVID deal is over with? Things that work better online than it ever could in a live classroom?
I really like the way it's encouraging even my elementary school child to do homework. Because in the past, if people don't know, homework in elementary school in North Carolina is basically optional. They're not allowed to require it. They can strongly encourage it, but it's not required. And it was always, okay, sure, there's homework, but I'm not really going to take it seriously. My daughter is doing a great job of actually picking up on doing homework, and she's kind of focusing on it and getting it done. And it's because it's in the same format that everything else is in. It's the same interfaces, the same kinds of forms, the same kinds of things. It's not, oh, go get your backpack and get this sheet of paper out of it, get whichever worksheet or handout or whatever it was and try to figure this out. It's all kind of back into the same pattern that they're using at school. And when they're done, there's nothing to put back into a folder or nothing to figure out however again. I find that to be really helpful. So I like that.
I like the freedom that and I don't remember what age it is that they start being allowed to use pens, but because these kids are now taking photographs with their webcam of their work on their Chromebooks to submit it, when they write on paper, they have to use pen because pencil is too light and doesn't show up. I like the freedom that the children are being able to use in terms of choice with color, marker, pen, pencil. What do you want to use? But even if they do use pencil, they have to go over it with pen. And some of the students are saying, well, I need to do my work in pencil first, and then I'll go over it with pen. I feel like it gives the children some sense of agency over a school day that is roughly outside of their control. And I'm seeing that is having some good buy-in effects on the students. And I like the fact that the concept of you're done with your work, you can get up and move your body seems to be really helpful. I think that is, I don't know how it would work in a school setting, but I would love to see when schools go back traditionally that maybe when children are done, they can get up, they can move around. Maybe snacking will be allowed in classrooms more often. I know the reason that they didn't do snacking in classrooms before was just janitorial. They didn't want, bug infestations, but thanks to even the classes that are meeting in person in North Carolina, they're having to eat in their classrooms. So I'd like to say that we've figured out how to clean those classrooms to prevent bug infestations at this point. Maybe let the kids eat while they're working or after they work or during the day, because food activates the parasympathetic nervous system and it lowers your stress response. And everybody learns better when their stress response is lower.
Yeah, I'm also much enjoying, or my son is much enjoying the thing that I got out of working from home years ago, which is you have a few minutes between this meeting and the next meeting, or you have whatever, and instead of you're sitting in an office and you're like, well, I guess I'll go to the water cooler and get a cup of water. Actually, no, I'm going to get myself a snack and actually do something that is useful. Turn the laundry over. Do something that you have 5 minutes. Okay, what can you get done in 5 minutes at your house? Actually, quite a lot if you hop up and you just go get it done. Whereas if you're sitting and you're waiting, you have 10 minutes between meetings in an office environment, you're not going to do anything. You're going to, okay, well, I'll pick up my stuff and go to the next meeting room and sit down and wait. And maybe I'll check my email or something, but you don't accomplish anything. So my son is very much enjoying the ability to, between classes, take the dog out for a walk or stretch his legs or whatever the next thing that he wants to do on personal stuff is. But because it's so easy to walk back into his bedroom where his Chromebook is, he can just get it done and then go back in there. So I love that part of it. I think he really likes it too. And some way to preserve that, I don't know how. I don't suspect that we'll keep on doing virtual school after the pandemic is over, but I think there's going to be some element of kids who are going to miss it. And I know my son will miss big parts of it.
Are they all using school-supplied laptops now, or are they using Brendan-supplied?
So we didn't want to put more strain on the Wake County public school system in terms of their limited resources, and we'd been talking about getting our kids Chromebooks for a while anyway, and this was okay, well, Chromebooks are not terribly expensive. I mean, a couple $100 to get one of the cheaper ones. We'll just get a pair of Chromebooks. We'll have them here. These are skills that kids need to have anyway in terms of how to log into things and how to use all of these tools and technologies. So we may as well just start and have it under control and under our control. So they can log in with their Wake County IDs, and that works just fine. So when they log into their Chromebook with the Wake County ID, all of Wake County's rules apply to the Chromebook. And then at the end of the day, they log out and log in with their Google ID, and everything's back to their stuff and their bookmarks, and they're getting a better understanding of that. So we did buy the Chromebooks, and I know that that's not an option for some folks, and that's the world we live in, but that's what we chose to do.
From the news stories that I've seen, they haven't managed to give everybody a Chromebook yet.
Chapel Hill, Scarborough, they've given out devices to all the students, and despite the fact that I work for a family that has a multitude of screens, they sent a Chromebook for the little one because they wanted to cut down on the number of tech support issues that their tech support people have to deal with.
Yeah, Wake County is one of the largest school systems in North Carolina. I think Mecklenburg might be similar sized, but Wake County is a gigantic school system, and they had to coordinate things through the entire system and rather than individual subunits of it.
Yeah, we use the Chromebook. She likes the Chromebook, but honestly, for work submission for some of it, it's easier on the iPad or on my phone. We've got the links on all of those, so she can log into all of her stuff on any screen at all. I really wish the Chromebooks would. We had a printer. The Chromebook didn't play nicely with the printer. Log in on any other device that plays nicely with the printer. I really wish we had a scanner that would interface with the Chromebook so that we didn't have to just, you can't see because I'm talking from the void, but rather than just hold up a piece of paper in front of the webcam and hope that it wasn't blurry or moving at the moment we press take a picture. It is what it is. We'll get there in the end. That's really more of a problem for the teachers in reading that held up paperwork than it is for us, but I'm trying to be nice to them.
We got our kids iPads, 8-10 months ago. It was before the pandemic had started. They had been saving their money. They really wanted iPads. And so we're like, okay, we'll help you pay for them. We'll do that thing. And part of me is now wondering, after this conversation, if I should go through the pain of figuring out how to get their iPads logged into whichever parts of the Wake County system they need to be logged into in terms of whichever accounts, so they can at least share pictures they take with the iPad, because that'll be a lot clearer and a lot easier for them to, hold it steady and get it clear instead of trying to hold a piece of paper up in front of the camera. And
yeah, Brendan's now, for those of you on the audio only podcast, you can't see it, but Brendan is now acting out exactly what I was acting out, which is it's just hard to, if you write in a big enough, fat enough marker, you can accomplish this. Because even blurry, even with a bit of motion blur, a very thick marker still looks like what it's supposed to look like.
I guess, but
this is what we have learned.
Must be why Trump uses the big magic markers.
But pencil is definitely not the thing you hold up in front of the webcam and hope that the teacher can read once you've taken a picture of it.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you guys are thinking about this topic before we move on?
I just want to give a big shout out to everybody in education right now. Y'all are working your butts off, we can tell, and it's going great.
It
really is.
All right. So we had talked about the vote twice thing. I guess we probably had pretty much exhausted that, but, it was Trump in Wilmington with a stream of consciousness conversation. I still can't tell whether he is just clever like a fox and can plan all this stuff and act it and make us think now he's just being an idiot, or whether he can actually do all that stuff just exactly as he intended to.
I lean on, my personal hope is that it's not a calculated act, because if he was intentionally that malicious, that's just more frightening than I can really bear at this point. So I'm hoping it's either mental illness or stupidity.
I figure that if he's that smart, he's smart enough to realize that he's wasting his efforts in these arenas. Like, how would somebody that smart choose these paths for their maliciousness? What's he going to get out of it? Like 3 extra marshmallows and a rose bush? Like, the payoff doesn't make sense. So it has to be stupidity. Smart people go for actual tangible rewards, like Bannon did, where he stole all that money for building the wall. Like, that's an actual tangible reward. That's where you put your con artistry.
Okay. Well, in any case, it sounded to me like he was just kind of babbling very much off the cuff. And his idea was, well, you want to test the voting system because voting by mail is going to be so not reliable. So if you want to vote by mail, well, then also go vote in person or at least go to your polling place and see if they have received your vote by mail. Well, in North Carolina, you can now do that online, although I'm not prepared to demonstrate that right now. But in theory, that system is up, and you can check to see if your ballot's been sent, and if you send it back in, if it's been received. the more cynical people were saying what he's really trying to do is to get all of the Republicans to jam the early voting sites, checking to see if their ballot has been received, and causing long lines and delays and making it hard for everybody else to vote. And maybe that was a specific intention, or maybe it was just a happy accident outcome.
Well, I think in terms of calculated political malice, the removal of the mail sorting machines for the Postal Service and that kind of thing, that is actually calculated malice versus Trump's sort of bizarre ramblings about everything that he thinks about at the moment. So, yeah, I can't imagine that would be a presidentially calculated attempt to overwhelm any portion of any system. But yeah, it's hard to assign motive here.
Yeah. Well, in any case, you can't do that legally. If you've mailed in your ballot, then you're done. You're done voting. The only thing that might get in the way of that is if your ballot has been rejected, and now they need to tell you. I think that's fairly new. It was a court case this year. They need to tell you that your ballot's been rejected and give you a chance to fix it.
Yes. Yep. That was a court decision. They have to tell you about the problems with your ballot so you can fix them.
Yep. But if you've mailed it in, you're done. You can't recall it. You can't cancel it. You can't go back on it. So once again, today you can request your ballot. You can mail it back in once you've got it. A few people may have already done that. October 15th is the beginning of in-person early voting. And if you're going to vote by mail, don't wait until October 31st to send it back in.
I believe that the ballots are now in the mail in North Carolina out to the folks who live here. And you should be getting them the next, week or so. And my intention still is what Jen was suggesting a couple weeks ago. I'm going to fill out my ballot at home, get it signed and everything else, and then take it to early voting and find one of the volunteers who's working doing voting, and I'm going to hand it in and be done that way and make sure that it is handed off to an election official directly.
Please do not mail it.
Yeah, we still don't know how badly that's going to go this year, and don't chance it.
Yep.
I am still voting in person. I'm not even handing it off to an elections official. I'm just gonna slap on an N95, fill my water gun with hand sanitizer, and go.
Can I have you come with me when I go to vote in person? Bring your water gun.
Yeah, sure. It's pink and it looks like a shark.
Ooh.
Be my bodyguard.
But yeah, I am not playing about if anybody gets too close to me, they're going to catch some hand sanitizer to the eye. But yeah, I'm voting in person. I've decided that the democracy and the free exercise thereof is something I'm willing to die for.
So in the list of things that I've got here to talk about, I do have a little bit of video to play that I shot when Pence was in town. My system is really upset with however this new software is running. This is not going to look good. I don't know how good it's going to sound. But Pence was in town on Tuesday, I'm going to say, maybe Wednesday. And
none of y'all can see my face, but I'm sure you can imagine my face.
Little pouty face.
Oh no, it's just an angry owl. People need to stop being in town.
Well, he was in town. It was a anti-abortion rally, and I volunteer as an escort. I haven't done any this year because of the COVID thing, but I volunteered as an escort at an abortion clinic, and so it's one of the things that is near and dear to my heart. And the folks in the pro-choice movement, the clinic escorts, the folks in NARAL, folks in general women's movement people, were doing some protesting at the place that he was. In this case, he was down on Hillsborough Street, just east of campus. And I've got some video. The protest that I was involved in was mostly mobile, and we couldn't drive in front of him, but we were driving down Hillsborough Street within a block away and doing a lot of horn honking. Let's see if this is even going to play at all. Yeah, it's like a fast slideshow. And we're just circulating around Hillsborough Street and about a block away from the venue. This is at the point where the police had blocked off the street and jerkily pan over. You can see they blocked it off with a couple of giant pickup trucks.
You know, I really wouldn't mind anti-abortion folks if they were going at it from the angle of encouraging men to ejaculate responsibly.
Men don't want to do that.
I mean, without semen, there are no babies.
Well, any kind of birth control is good, although they tend to oppose birth control as well. So this
seems counterproductive.
You couldn't drive.
Wasn't their God immaculately conceived? So therefore, shouldn't they realize that even abstinence doesn't work?
Well, we know it doesn't work.
Maybe they want more religions. Maybe they want more gods. Maybe that's what they're after. They want a pantheon.
So this is where you couldn't drive, but people could still stand sort of on the opposite side. Way in the back, you can see the edge of a tent. That's the opening of where he was. This woman here is one of the people that does regular preaching outside the abortion clinic that I volunteer at. Her name is Darlene.
I wonder if she's like in the same professional group as the pit preacher, also known as the brickyard preacher at at NCSU, because she's got the same tech setup.
Could be.
I bet you they're from the same company where they just get paid bunches and bunches of money by various churches to go out and just yell things in the little the wearable microphones and the wearable little speakers.
Yeah. So that white thing in the background, that's the tent at the opening of what it was a what we call a fake clinic. I think that's a police helicopter overhead. It's CPC, Crisis Pregnancy Center, but it's where they try to make you think that it's a place to go when you're pregnant if you want services, but the services they're going to give you is religion and lectures on having the baby and not getting an abortion, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but if that's not what you want to do, that's not what you want to hear. These are the white vans that are pulling away. Pence was actually in a black van, so but it's huge entourage. And that's Darlene hollering in the background again.
May God bless you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. The big on religion.
May God bless you with the ability to have whatever your body needs and whatever your life needs so that you live a great one.
Well, considering the Republican stance on healthcare and prisons and everything else and, welfare, the cynical approach is every life is sacred until you're born.
Yeah, pro-birthers. We call them pro-birthers. Oh, I don't know where I put it, but there was a great ad with a guy holding a box of ashes, and it had a flag wrapped over the top of it. It was supposed to be an anti-abortion ad, and it said something like "Rest in peace, soldier who was never born" or something. And I thought that was just peak pro-birther. It was it revealed everything that you needed to know about them, since poverty is the draft. And since most of the kids who are being diverted, because those with means, they just go and get an abortion and it's not a big issue. It is those without means who they're trying to divert here. What they're really trying to do is they're just trying to get more cannon fodder. That's what they're after.
Okay, I'm not sure that I specifically agree with that. I mean, there may be some of them that have that in mind. I think most of them, they're coming from a relatively sincere, strongly held religious conviction, which is fine, except that they want to foist their strongly held religious conviction on everybody else, not just themselves.
And they're not thinking through the consequences of a birth. What happens next? What happens then? What happens after that? You've got to have the whole, if you want to eliminate the desire of anybody to have an abortion, and I say this as a woman with woman friends, and you know the statistics that like 1 out of every 3 or 4 women have had an abortion. Like, I've got friends. You have to have structures in place to support the entire life of that potential child. That will change the calculus.
Yeah, they say that they'll do that, but they don't.
No, and nobody's stupid enough to say, well, I'll have the child first and then we'll make sure that they get fed later. No, they're looking to make sure that there's those structures in place first before you decide whether or not you're going to bring a life into this world to suffer.
Some of the other things that they will spend a lot of time talking about that are actually very minor things in the abortion process are the late-term abortions. That's one of the things that Pence was talking about.
There's no such thing as a late-term abortion. There is only a miscarriage.
And we had the governor of Virginia, Northup.
Or a birth. There are stillbirths. Stillbirth is another thing. There is no such thing as a late-term abortion. There are miscarriages and stillbirths. Yeah.
Northup got in trouble for trying to explain that, and he understood it very well because he was a physician. And that's one of the things that he did when he was practicing medicine. But he didn't explain it well enough. So as I understand it, as not an expert at all, is that if a woman gets to the third trimester, late in the third trimester, and decides she wants an abortion, well, for one thing, she doesn't just sit there and say, I think I don't want this baby anymore. Let's have an abortion. There's something wrong with the baby. There's something wrong that is going to cause it or her or both some physical,
to die.
Maybe die, maybe just big trouble. But between her and the doctor, they say this is a non-viable pregnancy. It won't end on its own. We will have to help it, but it's not going to be a good outcome. And that's what's really happening, but that is not what they will tell you is really happening.
The family legend is that my grandfather, and he was given an award of the fetus. He was working trauma in the ER. He was a doctor. And this woman got rushed in. She was pregnant. She was in her third trimester. And she had been in an auto accident. And she was hurt so badly that there was no way that she could live if the pregnancy was not terminated. And so they, with the husband / father to be's permission, they terminated the pregnancy. And so the woman lived, and the father was so grateful for this because he said, look, if she dies, the pregnancy dies anyway. Cause back then they didn't even have the NICUs we have now. He's like, why would I want my wife to die? Also, the kid's death is inevitable. And so he had the fetus bronzed and made into a trophy and awarded to my grandfather as service for helping save his wife. And I trot that story out every time people want to talk about late-term abortions. And then everybody's like, well, no, obviously that's an okay time. And I'm like, that's the only ones we got, guys.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. But it doesn't fit in a soundbite. It doesn't fit in a news story. It doesn't fit in, the 15 seconds before the cable news goes on to the next entertainment topic. So it doesn't run that way.
Well, it also doesn't fit in the 45 minutes of screaming that they do outside of the clinic. At those of us who are escorts, because the folks inside, they can't hear it. Doesn't make it through the walls. Anyway, Pence was here doing his pro-life, they say, anti-choice rant.
I call it pro-birth.
Yeah,
because there are people who are legitimately pro-whole life, and they're out there marching with Black Lives Matter, and they're working on food banks, and they're trying to, remove socioeconomic barriers to things. Like, that's pro-life, because that stuff is life.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed in the video, and this is a bit of a side note, is a bunch of the police officers who were not directly with the crowds were not wearing masks. And I noticed that I notice around town in Cary that I see work crews out doing things, or I see other people out doing things, and it is very uncommon to see town employees wearing masks when they're working on things outside, even when they're in groups, when they're close together. Do you see the same thing in Chapel Hill? Is this something that you've witnessed as well, Jen?
The biggest gathering I saw was on Thursday when we were driving through the center of town, and somebody had collapsed, and there were 2 ambulances, and I don't know, the fire department was out. There were all the first responder services were there, and every single one of them was masked. So okay. I'm gonna have to say that was, I don't know how common or not common it is that everyone is masked, but they were all masked.
Yeah, I was driving somewhere, and I think like a water main had let go, or something had happened, and so they were digging up part of the street, and they were doing stuff, and none of the people who were doing the work were wearing masks, and when I watched the video that you had there, Gary, it called my attention to that, and made me think it's kind of intermittent as far as I've seen. Like the people in downtown Cary are not doing a good job in terms of wearing masks this weekend. It's been a beautiful weekend. The weather's been great, and it's been pretty bad. And then just trying to get a sense of how it is in the rest of the triangle.
Yeah, I haven't been out in where there are very many people. Been to a few restaurants. The restaurants that I've been to are exceedingly good at requiring, and all the staff are wearing masks all the time, and all the patrons are, except when they're actually eating. I'm seeing compliance, in the 95% range, Harris Teeter, but then I'm not getting very many other places, so not
but
seeing.
You have to remember, Chapel Hill was traumatized by the outbreak at the college. Like, we were doing pretty okay. Our value was almost at 1, almost below 1. And then college opened, and we had a huge spike.
And you made the national news for weeks in a row.
Yeah, well, we did it on purpose, too. I mean, this was our protest against having to open. This wasn't a secret that got out. This was a call for help, a cry for help against the powers that be for forcing us to open. But we're terrified now of getting it, because like if a person looks to be 25 or younger, we assume they're a reckless college kid and has it. And like the college age kids are facing discrimination for this now.
Maybe they should.
Get off my lawn.
Well, I mean, it was probably a relatively small group that was being thoroughly irresponsible. I don't know. Can we tell if most of the kids at the school were being responsible?
But it doesn't matter if most people are being reasonable and some people are being super reckless, because the reckless ones will ruin it for everyone else, because the limited interactions you do have will still trigger an outbreak. So everybody has to be reasonable or better. You can't have most people be reasonable and some be super reckless.
Yeah. It messes it up for everybody.
This is why we can't have nice things, Pepper.
Yeah. Okay, I see one other thing that I want to bring up here. I tossed a lot of stuff in here that I hadn't really investigated very much, but this is the one that sticks in my craw a little bit. This is in Orange County. So Jen, your county board is rejecting the call to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh yes, I have many things to say about this.
They're in the People's Republic of Chapel Hill. Go, Jen.
Okay, where's my rant button?
Oh, here we go.
Rant button.
You're on.
Okay. First of all, I do not pledge allegiance to a flag. That's a piece of cloth, and it's got about a 10-year lifespan with the UV rays of the sun hitting it. I am not aligned with that piece of cloth. It's a cool little symbol, but the cloth I am not aligned with. I pledge to leave my country better than I found it, and that is not what the Pledge of Allegiance says. It starts with I pledge allegiance to the flag. If you pledge allegiance to a flag, honey, you done been duped. Also, this is one of those cases where, like, show don't tell. It's all cute to have people get up and say some stuff, but there are a lot of people who recite the Pledge of Allegiance and then try and leave the country worse than they found it. Show don't tell. If you really have allegiance to the United States, if you really are patriotic, you just work to leave the country better than you found it. Let's save ourselves some 10 minutes of yakking time and get on with getting on. Actually do the allegiance rather than saying it. I have no problem. I felt really weird when I taught in Wake County because we were required to lead a Pledge of Allegiance every morning. And I felt very uncomfortable about doing that. Because as the pledge is written, I do not agree. I would rewrite it. I would say, I pledge allegiance to leave this country better than I found it at such time as I leave it. And I'm going to start now. The end.
Brendan, do you feel comfortable doing pledges of allegiance?
No, I don't. Not in any form or fashion. My particular issue with the Pledge of Allegiance as written is the addition in 1957 of One Nation Under God. We are not one nation under God. This is not a theocracy. We do not have a central religion that we all practice and that we promote from a government standpoint. And that, to me, is extraordinarily offensive to the atheists, the non-theists, people of pantheistic religions. It's a pretty awful thing to have in there. We stuck it in there basically because communism, because McCarthy, and that should be removed. Once that's removed, we can have a conversation about it. But until then, I'm an absolutely no Pledge of Allegiance ever person.
Did you guys notice the pledges of allegiance at the Republican and Democratic online conventions? Especially as regards to the under God part?
No.
On the Democratic,
I did not watch. I didn't watch the whole of either of the conventions. As I said, I don't need the theatrical show. I was just picking up on the highlights, so I did not get to see that because I didn't make the highlights reel. Yeah. Please tell.
Yeah, I didn't watch all of it either. This was pretty close to the beginning, and it caught my attention. On the Democratic convention, they did a big deal of Pledge of Allegiance. They had an edited piece with a lot of different people, each reciting a different line, and many of the lines being repeated, like one nation, one nation, one nation. And then it was a quick under God, and then on to the rest of it. At the Republican one, it was one nation under God, under God, under God. So that the disparity, the difference between those two caught my attention quite a bit. I haven't done the Pledge of Allegiance since school days. That makes us all a bunch of left-wing, radical, commie, pinko anarchists.
Well, looking it up, the original text was, I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In 1923, the flag of the United States of America was added. And then in 1954, Eisenhower encouraged Congress to add under God due to the communism threat. So this is not the way it's been since the beginning that a lot of people think. It's much like having religious references on our money was a response to communism and not something about the founding fathers or anything like that.
Well, we have a war on religion, and Christianity is under siege right now, which best I can tell means that they're complaining because it is not allowed in every public space.
Because they can't force it on me? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was because we wish them happy Christmas and New Year simultaneously as holidays in the winter.
Well, here's a war. That's the war on Christmas. But the war on religion is you can't force it on everybody by putting it everywhere. You can practice it everywhere you want except the public square.
Can I just say that as a non-Christian, looking at Christianity from an outsider's perspective, it looks pretty whack.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I've had trouble with it since college, but
if Christians want to sell their religion, they gotta go in and clean some stuff up, because right now it looks weirder than any science fiction novel I've ever read.
Yep. Well, we can do our religion show sometime soon. The thing about the Pledge of Allegiance and all of that overtly patriotic stuff is that when I look at old films of Nazi Germany, when I look at new films of things that are done in totalitarian countries, they're full of that. That's all of the big marching and parading the flag and
sure, it's all value signaling.
Yeah, and
we value signal though. Just because we're not doing big shows, everybody values signals. The thing is that you've got to be the values you signal, and that's where it falls down.
Right. But just all those overt demonstrations, they feel to me like doing something that the countries whose values that we oppose, that we don't share, it's being like them. And I think what you're saying, be the value, don't pledge the value.
Yeah. It's when people say, I hear like, I've repented for my sins and something Christ love. And I'm like, that's cool, but you're still not being a good person. Like, I would much rather you never have found the love of Christ and be a good person than the other way around.
Yep. So the other day I logged on to, do you guys, are you on the app, the Nextdoor app?
I refuse.
No, I'm not.
Full of Karens.
Okay, so I've used it a little bit. It's been moderately useful. The other day, I logged on my phone, and I encountered this, the Good Neighbor Pledge. And the Good Neighbor Pledge is sounding a little Boy Scouting here. Be helpful. Share the space in a constructive way. Be kind, not judgmental in your conversations. Be respectful. You're speaking to your real neighbors. Strong communities are built on strong relationships. Do not discriminate. We do not tolerate racism, hateful language, or discrimination of any kind. And no harmful activity. We prohibit any activity that could hurt someone, from scams to physical harm. And then at the bottom, I agree to treat everyone in the Nextdoor community with respect. Little check mark. If you didn't check that, you could not use the service anymore. So what to me that is basically a terms of service, but a terms of service that was pushed in your face, because we all agree to those things on Facebook or Reddit or Twitter or many of the other online forums. We agree to their terms of service before we use the system. We don't read them. We don't know what they are, but we agree to them. The
summary is basically don't be a dick. So just don't be a dick.
Yeah. But this was like, boom, right in your face. You will agree to this as a pledge.
And it's written in relatively easy to understand English. Most terms of services are written with lots of lawyer weasel words and trying to figure out ways to make sure they cover their bases if they get sued. And the Nextdoor approach there appears to just be, hey, folks, we're having a civil discussion with your actual neighbors. Don't turn this into a place to start flame wars. Just be nice to each other. Come on.
And there's really nothing in their pledge that I disagree with, except having to agree to it. So, I mean, my option is to not use the service, and that's what I'll do. I will not use, like you guys have so far, for many other reasons, but this is the one that got me. It's like, yeah, okay, no, I'm not going to agree to a pledge like that. I, in fact, did so that I could go on there and explain.
A bit patronizing and infantilizing, like you're logging in and you're like, oh, I like how you assume that I need to be told how to be an adult. Thank you for that. It's not like I didn't learn how to be a good person, but some people didn't.
The reason I don't use Nextdoor is because the reputation I have from the things that friends of mine who use it have shared with me is that it's exactly the opposite of what that pledge states. It is full of people who are sniping at each other and being awful and being mean and being antagonistic all the time to their actual neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I never signed up for it.
And that may be what they're trying to solve. I
use something called talking to my neighbors directly instead of needing a web form to do it. You guys should try it.
Well, this gets me a little.
It's more fun to be a troll on the internet.
Gets me a little beyond the 5 or 6 neighbors that I know by name in my neighborhood. But
these are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. Oh, what? Nobody? Mr. Rogers.
Oh, I know it, but I just can't sing.
And I don't know it because I've never had kids. So I never watched Mr. Rogers.
What you do is you find the one person in your neighborhood who knows everybody, and then you get to know them, and then they can act as your social nexus.
That's my wife.
See, you
Right,
had
right.
easy time.
Yeah. We have a neighbor that we get all the gossip from.
Then you don't need Nextdoor. You got Nextdoor. You just go and say, why have the recycling bin label been Sharpie altered? And they go, oh, I know the answer to that.
Yep.
And you get the answer.
98% of what I've used it for was a discussion of a bridge or a tunnel under the railroad tracks on Chapel Hill Road, Morrisville, that we've been waiting to get open for a long time, that will connect two greenways and make a nice long one for walking or bike riding, and it just opened. And so I signed on. I saw that was the case. I said, yeah, but I have to go through this pledge to be able to use it. So I went through the pledge and I wrote my rant about not wanting to agree to the pledge and said, I'll wait for a week or so to collect responses to my rant, and then I'll take it off my phone. Now, that doesn't mean I can't use it from a browser. Just won't be on my phone.
There's a separate rant that I've got for apps that you can just access the website with your browser.
That's the way I do it on my phone for Facebook. I won't put Facebook on my phone.
It's because they're collecting location data on you. Otherwise, that's why they want you to have an app.
Yeah, I'm not
A lot more than just location data.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about all of that stuff. Google knows all there is to know about me. They know me better than I know myself.
Google does not know me better than I know myself. I have, in my research for my presentation, I went and did a lot more YouTube than I normally do, just to see how other people have taught various topics. And I have gotten a lot of ads, and they're all conservative.
Yeah, they don't know you very well.
No, they really, really don't.
My Facebook feed was full of right-wing stuff until I started making friends and logging on to progressive sites. And now it's full of left-wing stuff with a little bit of right-wing stuff thrown in.
For whatever reason, Google keeps sending me TTS. They seem to think what I really want is very, very large amounts of TTS ads.
Well, we do need to know how the other half lives.
I have let them play all the way through with the understanding that if you let it play past the skip ad button, then they have to pay extra.
That would be good. Yeah, well, yeah, that's probably true. So let's drain the treasury over there.
But it just goes to show that whatever algorithm exists, it's missed me. Facebook thinks that I'm conservative as well. That's what's really funny. It also thinks that I'm a black man who is conservative and lives in Washington, D.C. and works for the U.S. Mint.
That's your sock account. You have a sock account, right?
I don't know what that is.
It's just a fake identity, which is against their terms of service.
My fake identity is a completely other thing.
I think they call it a sock account because sock puppet.
No, I think.
Do. Not sure.
I do use an account that is not me on a social media site in order to have a login to my Pokemon Go, and she is very much not me. She gets ads for like having children and like maternity awards or competing for her birth, just because all they know about her is her age and that she's female.
I was on a training session for clinic escorts, and one of the things that they were recommending was making the sock account, the fake identity, just so you can traverse Facebook and things like that without people knowing who you really are. Get into how the other side is without them booting you off. And so I started to do one. It's a lot of work. And starting from scratch, creating an identity and then joining groups and making friends. That's hard.
There's a something identity, fakeidentitygenerator.com. And then you don't have to create your own identity from scratch. You can just take one that's there. Or if you don't like it, hit refresh and it'll give you a new one. It has an email address. It has an address. It has credit card number. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
I should have checked that out.
By the way, the credit card numbers do not work. They are specifically non-working numbers, but there's something that you can put in if there's like a credit card requirement in order to get past a particular screen to use the service for free.
Yeah, I used a service that generated a picture that they guarantee is not a real person. It's a composite of something. So my picture on that account is was something created for me, but I should have learned about the total rest of the identity. I had to think of, where do I live? Where did I go to school?
I got you, boo. FakeIdentityGenerator.com.
Okay. I'll make a few.
That's kind of awesome.
But then what they need to do is to make a lot of posts and stuff for me, because that's the stuff that's a lot of work. It's also weird to go on there and talk about how much I love Donald Trump.
I'm not sure I could do that. My interaction
You just copy paste from somebody else's rant. You can just steal it just like the bots do.
Do a lot of likes of the reelect Trump 2020 websites or the Facebook posts. By the way, my comeback is Trump 2020, Biden 2021.
My brother, I was with him last night, and his comment was something along the lines of, if the only good thing that happens in 2020 is that Trump loses the election, it's a net positive. That's actually, you get to,
I'm gonna need Tillis to lose too, please. Please.
If you can only choose one good thing, I'll take that one, honestly. Like, anyway.
Fair.
Yeah, the Tillis part of it is more of a sidecar.
Yeah, it's just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's important. And in fact, for North Carolina, it may be more important than Trump losing. Because if Trump loses the Senate, then he becomes pretty impotent. So if he's president but doesn't have House and Senate, then he's not much he can do. People said, well, then they can go back to the impeachment, but the impeachment would require 2/3 vote in the Senate. We're not going to get that.
It disarms or defangs the worst parts of the Republican Party.
Yeah. But I would prefer to have Biden, the House, and the Senate. But that'll probably only last 2 years just because of the
That's the way politics are.
Yeah. And
say I've seen a lot of people in my little world who complain that the Democrats are too right wing for them. So.
Oh yeah, I see a lot of that in my Facebook feed because I've got some real progressives.
I have a friend who's moving to Amsterdam literally today. He and the family were at the airport this morning to take a flight, and they're moving. And in Europe, our ardent left wing is just left of center for them. Like, this is not socialism. This is not the left. Like, our left is very, very minorly towards liberal policies on the global scale.
I wish my camera was working that Gary could see it, because then I would go get my phone. But I took a political quiz when Jay for President started, and it was versus Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and both of them are in right-wing authoritarian, and my politics are squarely in the quadrant, which is left-wing libertarian.
So you know who you are.
Yeah, it's just the Democratic Party is, as the axes go, it is to the right of center. So it's lefter than the Republicans, sure, but it's still to the right of center, and they could use to scooch a little bit left, in my opinion.
So how worried should we be that our own divisions will work against us in this election?
As a party, as a country?
As a party, as the most progressive parts of the Democratic Party, have we lost them in this vote?
2 out of 3 for worried. Not 1 out of 3, not 3 out of 3. 2 out of 3 for worried. Somewhere in the middle.
I'm more worried that we're not going to have an election at all, or not have a fair election, than I'm worried about the Democratic Party being split. Let's put it that way.
I'm not worried about the outcome of this election, but I am worried about the fact that, people will be like, yeah, well, we'll elect Joe, but then we got to have a reckoning, and the reckoning might not be survivable. Yeah.
I've got a few probably still Bernie supporters that are, they're almost as much never Biden as they are never Trump, and they're kind of pledging to stay home. But
they better show up and vote for vote against Tillis. That's all I'm saying. They don't have to fill out a single presidential bubble, but I want to talk to them right now. You need to show up and vote. You can leave President blank.
Or vote for Jen. J for president.
But you better vote for Senate.
Yeah, they might do that. I don't know. So
all you're in it for is the presidential race. Son, I got words for you.
And there's nothing new about this. The idea that trying to put together your coalition to win an election among folks that you're not going to represent very ardently because that you don't agree with their politics, even though you're on the same side of the center line. There's nothing new about that.
Yeah, and for me, my vote is very much a vote against Trump, not a vote for Biden. But I'm not unhappy to vote for Biden. I don't care for him that much. I prefer other politicians more. But like he's not my favorite, but I don't have any problem with him. So sure, I'll vote for him. He's a reasonable person, and I'm not going to be holding my nose to vote for Biden.
The way I usually think about it is that, especially the specific office of president, but in any administration, only vaguely influences the direction of the country in their time in office. Trump may have been, if he's been successful, he may have been more successful than most presidents in pushing the country in the direction that he wants. But even then, I'm not sure in major programs and legislation whether he's accomplished all that much. Obama didn't. And so things move a little bit one way or the other, depending on which administration is in there. And so with a Biden administration, things are going to move a little bit in the direction I like to see. Once in a while, something significant comes along, like gay marriage, which wasn't done legislatively, it was done judicially. Be nice if we could get that done legislatively as well, but that's not happening. But those things are pretty rare. Things like establishing Social Security. Those things are rare. So we might see one come out of a Biden administration. We might see none. But things will move in generally the direction I want to go. And that's why I don't have any trouble voting that way. That's why I don't have any trouble with the blue no matter who.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my carriage is turning into a pumpkin at this point.
Yep, it's your time.
I need to move along.
And I need to head out too, because Skype drains my battery a lot faster than
Zoom
does.
Yeah, and it is driving my main computer's processor absolutely nuts. It's redlined, and I've seen people complaining about that, and now I know why they're complaining. So we will wrap up this show. We've had Nanny Jen, candidate for president.
Listen, you better show up and vote, even if you don't want to vote for president.
If you don't want to vote for anyone else for president, vote for Nanny Jen. J, the initial J for president is how you.
But also not Tillis.
But that's a write-in. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to write that in. It's not on the ballot.
Listen, even if you were going to leave president blank, vote against Tillis.
Yeah. And Brendan Diesendorf, who has been relaxing in his hammock continuously on my title, at least.
Trying to, at least. That's a goal I aspire to.
A host of the Practical Operations Podcast. And Jen, you're on the Nanny Cast.
Yes. And speaking at International Nanny Training Day 2020, Saturday.
Yeah, sign up. I'm Gary Pierce. I am the Triangularian with the
hanging pants. Your drawers out on the line.
Yeah, I'm not. I forget what I did, but I think this was a Photoshop job to be able to turn the. It was essentially the victory sign upside down from from the emojis to make that title, which Brendan still won't say, even with the quotes.
Sorry. I'm a stick in the mud.
I will be the triangularian. I'll manage to get this done. Episode 110, we're racking them up. The PolitiChat. September 6th, 2020. Fake fall.
False fall.
False fall. I like fake fall, kind of fake news fall. It's going to get hot again, but then it'll get October. Just wait till October. We can hold out one more month. Voting's nice. Do it twice on the triangle. Talk show. Bye, everybody. Oh, over and out.
Over and out.
Over and out. Brendan, I guess you got to say the whole thing too.
Yeah, it's not in the notes. Sorry. I'm bad at this.
Just over and out.
Over and out?
That's all you have to say.
Okay.
I'll push the